Hey, welcome to Games Overboard. I am PJ.
Hey, I'm Dan.
And it's just us today as we are talking about the number one game 5 years running now in the world, and that is Gloomhaven.
He's been talking to me about Gloomhaven for years, and I never really got into it. I think the first time I played it, you said we did a bar brawl or something like that?
It was one of the Kickstarter campaign scenarios from the second Kickstarter, and we did it on Tabletop Simulator. And yeah, it was a bar fight.
Right, yes, that's because I was all the way on the other side of the country. And it was a bar brawl. I didn't really get into it, and he kept saying, you gotta play it. Oh god, this thing's so...
Yeah, like Dan's a fan of XCOM, and that knowledge alone was like, yeah, this is his kind of thing.
I love the XCOM series. I love Civilization games by Sid Meier's. Anything that makes you actually think and be tactical without being a first-person shooter, just how to rearrange everything. And yeah, you're right. This is XCOM level for board games. This was fun. The only thing that got me is it's daunting. The stuff. First of all, the box is humongous.
it's sitting on the table next to us, and it feels like there's another person at the table. It does.
It's like looming over the table right now. This thing is massive, and I asked you, PJ. I said, did all of these little chest pieces come in here? And he said, yeah. I had to buy extra for that. Oh!
Yeah, I got the broken token insert because without it, the game is an unorganized mess.
And I can imagine. I know my version of, Mansions of Madness is a complete and utter mess.
Oh, mine too,
because I don't have anything in there. And that's like a fraction of what this game is. So if you guys are familiar with Mansions of Madness, there are a lot of pieces. There are like 3 times as many pieces.
Yeah, hundreds of tokens, over 1,000 cards. So much.
It's just so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
The box without the wooden insert, the box is 22 pounds.
Okay, and the wood adds how much?
I think an extra 2. I think so. Yeah,
2 pounds of wood. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, well, what's another 2 pounds?
What's another 2 pounds?
But yeah, so like everyone is always intimidated by the size of this thing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I was like very weary of playing. Not that I don't like playing games with you, but I was like, this is way too much for me.
Yeah. But so before we get into components and all that, so what did you think when we actually started playing and you realized like it's only really a hand of cards and some minis? So, right? Like, is that how you feel about it? Or
yeah, it's... First of all, if I sat there and played this by myself, I'd go, and I win because I quit. But at least having that extra person there, especially you, since you know how this game runs. I mean, how many years have you been playing it now?
4. I got in 2018.
I was going to say, because I've been back since 2019. Yeah. So, for 4 years. So, you're very well versed in it. I would need to do the one thing that I hate the most, and it's study the rulebook. I hate it if it's something that I can't just pick up and go, oh my god, that was the simplest thing in the world, and play like we did with my last episode for the Sniper Elite. It's going to be too much, and I'm going to say, not right now. Someone's got to teach this to me. I'm not going to want to do this myself. But after having everything laid out and playing it for the first time, it's like actually playing it for the first time and not online. It's very minimal. It's a mix between XCOM and Dungeons and Dragons. So you can be tactical. You have everything visually there for you, like in set, instead of going out and having to buy a bunch of stuff if you're playing D&D. Yep. For those of you who don't like role playing, and that's why you are not getting into D&D, this game is perfect for you because you don't have to say, I say this. You can just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to beat the crap out of that guy because I don't like his face. And you just do it. You don't have to speak. You don't have to role play.
It's a lot like the old original D&D where it was all about the dungeon crawl and because originally it was a war game before they added the whole role-playing aspect to it, and that's very much where this kind of gets a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, and I like that. I also don't mind the role-play, and it always takes me a little bit to get into the role-play because I'm an actor, so I'm naturally a dork, but at the same time, you're going, I don't feel like, no, I don't want, all right, you know what, I'm going to do it. Yeah, it takes a little bit for me when I do play D&D to actually like get into that mindset and that character space.
Yeah. So real quick, how the game plays is it's almost open world where you can, once you discover a bunch of locations, you put stickers on the map of all these discovered locations, and then you can pick and choose where you want to go.
Yeah, I think somebody played a little too much Skyrim when they made this. It has very much an Elder Scroll feel in the way of the presentation.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's not a bad thing. I really like that. I think that's so cool. And I mean, you could consider this a legacy game, right?
Yeah.
And that's great. It doesn't even say legacy. It's Gloomhaven. What you see is it's not even what you see is what you get. What you see is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You see this giant box, but you don't realize just how much and it's $100, but you easily get your money's worth out of this.
Oh
game.
yeah, I can
considering
see it.
Dune Imperium is $60, and one game is like an hour long, an hour and a half long.
Depends on how devious your other player wants to be.
Yeah, and that's just one map, one set of characters, one time through and all that. Gloomhaven is 95 different maps, 95 different scenarios. Unlockable characters.
Literally unlockable characters.
Each character levels up and retires, and then they can even come back later in the story after they've retired. Even though it's $100, it's worth so much more in terms of like actual time you can put in. You can put hundreds of hours into this game and still not be done with it.
Yeah, this seems to be like you're getting way more bang for your buck, and at $100 you're almost getting $1 per map or per
play session.
Yeah, it's massive. Of course, we just did a playthrough like we always do for you guys, and we didn't even get to the second scenario of what we were doing because we just didn't have the time before we started to record. But holy crap, it's massive, but it really is so much fun. If you guys want to pick this up, don't be me. Read the rule book, or better yet, find somebody or
watch a playthrough video, things like that. Find someone who knows it and have them teach it to you.
Right. Because now I'm more apt to want to play this again.
There's also a version on Steam and Epic Games where you can, and it's the game. It plays exactly the same. So you can play through there, level up your characters, unlock new characters and everything through that as well. But anyway, so the way the game plays is you have a hand of cards for your character. Well, first there are 6 starting characters. And you have a hand of cards that matches that character and a mini that matches that character. And each character plays very differently from the other one. And you have your tanks, you have healers, you have spellcasters, you have one called the Mind Thief that controls other people, you have a Tinkerer.
So he's a Dr. Psycho for all of you DC fans.
And he's a little rat man.
There oh my gosh, he's a rat man. Okay, so he's a little rat Dr. Psycho for the DC fans out there. If you guys know what I'm talking about, if you've watched the animated series Harley Quinn, you'll get my reference.
There is a human class, and it's a rogue, essentially. They're all about thieving and backstabbing. Like, if they can get behind someone, they can do extra damage.
Wow, that sounds very much like us human race people. Yeah. Art was so great.
And that's when we start talking about theme. Like, the theme in this game is unbelievable. But that's essentially it. Like, you're playing cards that let you pick the bottom of one card, top of another. You always play 2 cards at a time. And then you just do whatever the card says. You move 3 spaces, and then you attack someone for 3 damage. And then in like D&D, there's initiative, and you follow your initiative roll. And then instead of rolling a die, you have a deck of cards.
Right. So this is everything that you would think of for D&D without basically the moving pieces. So there's no dice to be lost or thrown on the table. Everything is put out for you in card form, and it's all with your character. Every person playing the game, including the NPCs, non-playable characters, have the same setup. The thing that I found absolutely fascinating after, PJ, you pointed this out to me, is how distinct all of these characters look. And I've only seen just 2 or 3 of the characters.
Yeah.
How many characters are in the box?
There are 16 playable characters.
Holy friggin' crap. I'm probably never going to get to see
like 2 or 3 of them so far. That's it. You saw one of the unlocked ones. I was playing one of the unlocked ones.
You were one of the unlocked ones?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's just ridiculous to me. How all of this isn't... You've had the game for 4 years. I know you play it regularly. I know you play it by yourself. And you've only unlocked 2 people out of the entire thing. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Like he was saying, like, they're so diverse, too. Like, your tank characters also have healing cards. My first 2 characters, because when you play solo like I did, you have to do minimum 2 characters. And so I did the Inox Brute, who you were today.
That's who I was today.
And right next to him on the box is the Cragheart, who he's this rock monster, and usually like they have this lit gem in their chest, but he's called Cragheart because he's missing that, and he's like an outcast.
Poor lost soul.
But both of them are massive damage dealers. They're these tanks, but they also have healing cards. So I would heal myself, like I'd have each of them heal each other as they moved room to room, and they would just be healing each other, protecting each other, and just killing everything at the same time.
If I wanted to be like a big dork on this, for those of you who are fans of video games, basically you, as your first playthrough, were 2 giant hunters from the Halo series.
Yeah, we were a pair of hunters. Just going
pretty much, just your shields up. Yeah, that's so cool to me. How much mileage you can get out of this game.
Well, I'll get to another story later. So first thing I always like to talk about is components.
Well, I know we've already gone over pretty much most of that.
Yeah. So let's talk. We know what the components are. Let's talk quality.
Okay,
of components.
So quality of components. These, first of all, the figures are awesome. I know last time I was here, we talked about the quality of the figures for the Sniper Elite game. The quality of the figures for this, I feel, are comparable. They look great. They are fantastically crafted and sculpted. Of course, they're just minis, so you're not going to get full amazing texture and detail, but they look cool. I can look at the card and I can look at my figure and say, yeah, that's definitely the guy that I had. Mm-hmm. You can really see. But the cards look great. Now they're not flashy. They don't have a whole bunch of stuff on them to really mess around with you. The artwork on it is very minimal, but it looks fantastic. I really like that aspect.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of minis purists will have issues because, like, some of the minis kind of, like, lean, things like that.
They're a little asymmetrical.
Yeah. Like, they're not the sturdiest of minis, but I really like the quality of them. Frosthaven is saying that their minis are going to be even better. Like you said about the cards, like, yeah, they don't have much artwork on them, but I love, like, the neon borders that are around them.
The borders on them are fantastic. You get an idea of what you're supposed to be looking at. Your eye isn't going to wander on these. You have the top section or the bottom section for your action cards. This is what you do, or you can do this. Mm-hmm. And it's very spelled out. There's no way that you could get confused about what you do.
Yeah.
It's not do this or this. It's, hey, you can do this, cut in half, you can do this.
Yeah.
And when you lay out the rules of you either take the top part or the bottom part of each card, and you have to do the inverse on the second card, there's no way to get yourself confused.
Right, yeah. I also like that all the map tiles are they're double-sided, which is cool.
That's always nice to see that. That's less waste. You get a lot more playability.
A lot more diversity out of it.
Right, and thankfully that's this way, or this box would probably be twice as big.
Also, for enemies, they're standees instead of minis, which reduces size, reduces cost,
right?
Adds more color to the game too, instead of just more gray minis. I kind of wish that they were a little sturdier. The map tiles. The standees are fine. I like the standees, but I wish the map tiles were a little better. The cards of the enemies, though, that go in these little sleeves, and you can rotate them to whatever level enemy you're fighting. I love those. I think those square cards are awesome.
I think those square cards are great too. They remind me a lot of the standees for Mansions of Madness. So that's pretty neat. The quality, again, it's just cardboard, but it's thick cardboard, so you don't feel like you're going to be able to destroy them as easily, but still it isn't something that you could, bend, and you have to be careful with them. You got to be cautious, but it's not something.
It's not like a jigsaw puzzle piece,
right? Where you go, oh no, I bent the corner, that'll never fit ever again. Like it works. It works.
So let's move into what works and what doesn't work, and then after that is just interesting, things. Like for me, it'll be interesting stories from playing the game. But we can also talk about just like potential the game has and things like that. So first, what works?
So what works? The minis work for me. The entire system, as complicated as it may seem at first, works brilliantly. You do get overwhelmed because there's so much stuff, but the rules are very simple. Everything's laid out if you actually take the time to go through your rule book and just play. What doesn't work for me is the one thing that I go, ooh, and that's the paper. I don't like paper pads, because I always feel that once I'm done going through all of the paper pads, I'm done. Now how do I get more of this? I'm not going to make a stupid hand gross copy. Like, I don't want that. I want to have something that I can use again and again. Now, of course, the only way to get away with that is if you use pencil very, very lightly.
Yep.
And then erase it.
So what he's referring to is your character has a character sheet, just like in D&D, and your party has a party sheet, just like in... Well, not just like in D&D, but you have a sheet that covers your party, and then your characters have their own individual sheets. You do have... I haven't counted, but you do have multiple sheets per race.
Okay.
Which is nice, so, like... And honestly, like, how often are you going to, like, beat the game and replay as a character? So, there is that to think about.
Good point.
But I do agree that, like, there is the possibility that one day you will run out, and then what do you do? So that definitely is something to think about there. For me, what works is the legacy aspects of it, putting stickers onto the map when you discover a new location, unlocking a new character when you've reached a certain goal. I'm looking at, there are envelopes in there. There's one called Envelope X, and it's a puzzle.
Ooh.
And I know it's a puzzle because for the Frosthaven Kickstarter, the sequel, they had an option for an extra like $8 to get upgraded pieces to make the puzzle like more fun to solve. So I'm like, I'm buying that. So I spent money on that, but like, so there are like puzzles in there. There's there's a hidden envelope in the box too.
What?
Yeah, there's also a town history book that you can...
Holy crap, this is ridiculous.
That you can unlock. There's just so much to explore and discover in this game.
Yeah,
it's just incredible, like, how this world comes alive.
So really, what we're saying here is my stupid little gripe here is pittance compared to all of the great stuff that you get with this.
Exactly, yeah. The other big thing that doesn't work, if you don't have an insert, setup will take a long time. With an insert, it will still take long until you like get familiar with the pieces. I can set up in probably about 10-15 minutes, which is still long for a board game.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you're looking at a half-hour setup without an insert. Easy.
Oh, yeah.
And that will definitely turn off a lot of people.
But you're also looking at about the same amount of time to do a scenario, and you can do multiple scenarios in the same thing. So, like I said, we didn't play the second portion, like the second scenario of our game tonight, but that was easily, an hour for us just to do that.
The first scenario,
that first part of the scenario, or first scenario of the game that we did. So, even though the setup is long, your game time is going to run just as long or much longer than...
There are some scenarios that are a lot longer,
I wouldn't doubt it. I think your cons are menial compared to what you're really getting out of your pros and all of this.
Another thing a lot of people ask is like, well, can my friend's coming over for the weekend, can he play? And if he's not part of the world,
make him part of the world.
Yeah, like your characters aren't locked in stone. Like Dan, I just threw him a character. I'm like, hey, pick some cards for your character here. Yeah. You're gonna be joining in and doing this. And my brother-in-law, Jack, who was here for the Sniper Elite podcast, and the Betrayal one, he has a rogue scoundrel that will just show up sometimes and join my party, and we end up doing terrible, heinous things because that's what his character ends up doing.
Does. Yeah, I've noticed in just about every game we do, Jack does terrible, heinous things. I think these games are for him a way to just get out the terrible, heinous part of his being.
Yeah, probably.
We can say this. We've known him for a long time.
This is true. Jack wanted to be here today, too. So, Jack, you're with us in spirit.
That's right. Next game, we'll definitely be here, and you can do some more terrible and heinous things.
For sure. What doesn't work for me, we already talked about, really, was the setup time is the big thing. So, yeah, that's...
I feel that... even though you said that doesn't work for you, I think when you play this game, especially the way it's supposed to be played, I mean, you don't just throw together a party and go, hey, we're going to have a party, and everything's going to be perfect. You're not going to throw it together in like 5 minutes and have the booze and the pizza unless you were stocking up on that stuff, in which case, what is wrong with you, you psychopath? So yeah, if there is going to be a bit of time. So think of it as a party. Yeah. Not a party game, like it is a party in and of itself.
It's the event.
So you're going to have some time to set up. You're going to have some time to get everything together.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be one of those things where you put all this time, energy, and then you went, well, that was dumb.
Yeah. Oh, I really like the...
Here it goes.
That, for me at least, setting everything up and just... Maybe because it's the first expensive game I ever bought, but the first game I ever really loved. But so just seeing all the pieces and getting everything out, and it's almost I was saying to Dan earlier, almost like a ritual, just seeing everything and just slowly unpacking it. And same with packing up, just putting everything away and packing. It just feels good. In a way, I don't know. It's an interesting feeling I got.
And they said that I was the weird one. Right?
Yeah.
No, that's not weird. I do understand that. You do have your things that you go, oh yes, this feels so good. Oh, that's great. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm putting this out again. There's nothing wrong with that.
So in terms of the final section, which is just fun memories or things that you can, the potential that you see and stuff like that. I have just so many good stories. I was telling Dan that, the second scenario is a boss fight. And without any spoilers, because it's the second scenario, the boss will, first, let's talk about theme for a second here. Before I talk about the boss fight, let's talk theme. Okay. In this game. So, all of the enemies you fight have their own AI decks.
Yeah, so I don't know why we didn't think about this before, but the AI decks are actually really, really simple. Really, just the simplicity makes it fun. So, just like you, as a character, you have all of your stuff. You have your card, you have your deck, you have your player card, and you have your dice cards, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Your enemies have the same thing, but it's much more pared down, and it's just literally you flip a card. That's it.
Yep.
What are my action? What are their actions that they're going to take against me? Well, I don't need a dungeon master to tell me what's going on. I don't need an app to tell me what's going on. I take a card. I literally take a card and flip it over, and it's going to tell me this character is going to move this many spaces and is going to attack the closest player for this much damage.
Yep.
And that's it.
And each type of character is very different from another, where guards are more likely to hunker down and retaliate rather than seeking you out like a skeleton or an archer will.
Right.
They're more likely to just sit in one spot and wait for you to come to them. There are wolves in the game where they will do more damage if they are adjacent to another wolf because they're in a pack. There are zombies where they're extremely slow, but they hit like a tank. But sometimes they'll move really fast, but they'll take 2 damage for it. So it's like, it just makes sense how they move and why they would move that way. It just all fits with the story and the character.
Yes.
Which is absolutely brilliant. And the bosses, getting back onto the boss fight now, his AI deck just says Boss Special 1 or Boss Special 2 when you flip a card onto one of those cards. And they do have others like, move 1 space or attack for 2 damage or whatever, but they have a lot of Boss Special 1 or Boss Special 2 cards. And the scenario book tells you what happens when they do this. And the first boss you fight usually refuses to fight you. He just runs away and opens up doors all over the place and unleashes monsters onto you. And so you're just trying to capture this guy and kill him. But you can't because he just keeps zipping around the map. And it's awesome. I've never seen a game do that before. And I still haven't after all these years. To see an enemy that just runs away from you. And I love it. The story behind that is fantastic.
It does make for fun. It does make for some fun stories and some fun gameplay memories. And I see that the same way that I would see if someone would do that in a video game. It would be the same thing, where if that's how your character is programmed, whether it be through a combination of 1s and 0s or here's a script that you're literally reading out. It's always an interesting way to see that being played, because now you as the player, and this goes back to, of course, my love for XCOM, now you really have to think of, oh, crap, how am I going to be strategic to make sure that we can defeat this character, how we can defeat this scenario. So that's always fun to see.
Yep. One time my students, I introduced this to my tabletop club, and my students decided they were all going to stay together. So they all formed up, and they moved as one being around the map. And one of them had like this ability, this rolling ability, where if anyone attacked anyone adjacent to him, he could take the hits.
So you had a human shield.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this large mass of 4 adventurers would move through, and 3 of them took no damage. And one of them just kept healing the guy who was taking the damage, and it was amazing to see all this happen.
See, that's really cool when you can get up to 4 players, and this is up to a 4-player game.
Up to 4,
right?
yeah.
When you get to 4 players who actually think the best strategy to take on whatever's thrown in their way. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really neat. You don't really get to see that in even video games today. Sometimes you do, but those are with groups of people that are close friends or who've played online together, a lot and think the same way.
Yeah.
A lot of times I've gone into those stupid games and just go, well, I'm done, people I can't stand.
Oh, that's for sure. I also, in terms of heinous things, Jack.
Oh, yes. Well, let's get back to Jack.
He plays a human scoundrel, and they, as I said earlier, they're all about like stabbing in the back. They have a lot of looting options, which you haven't seen a loot card, or if you have, you didn't play it.
I didn't play a lot of loot cards.
So what happens is when you play that, and it says like loot 2. That doesn't mean you get to loot 2 things. You loot everything in a 2-space radius around you. And the human scoundrel is notorious for just leaving the party to go like, oh, what's in this chest? I'm gonna go over here. And everyone's like, no, we need you back. Get back here.
Curiosity gets the best of all of us.
The human scoundrel's also really good at, if someone is adjacent to an enemy, then you can do double damage by getting up behind them and stabbing them in the back. So Scoundrel's great at, like, being this rogue,
just this heinous individual. Oh my gosh.
So anyways, he decides that we should go help this this clan of Inox, which is the race that you were.
That's what I was.
So we go to their village and we're clearing house, trying to, like, get all the baddies out of it. Then we learn that there's a cave where all these women and children are hiding. and we get to the cave and we're like, you're saved! And they're terrified of us because we just killed all their men.
You're safe. You can do whatever you want except procreate because all of your your guys are died.
I was like, they're dead. I'm like, what did we do? And he's like, sorry. Because he's the one that picked that mission to go on.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
We did one where we had to, like, steal from a warehouse too, or something like that. It was years ago, but he takes us to dark places.
That doesn't surprise me at all. At all.
Yeah, it's something.
Oh my gosh.
At this point, I do want to state that there is this $100 version. There's also a $35 version from Target. And it's called Jaws of the Lion. And it is essentially Gloomhaven. The only differences are, one, it holds your hand to teach you how to play.
Oh, okay, here it is. We do have a copy here. Yep.
The other thing, and Dan, you'll like this, as I make thumping noises and pull this out.
Thump, thump, thump. What do you get there?
The map tiles are books.
Okay, that's incredible.
So, and they are making these for both Frosthaven and Gloomhaven. The problem is you can't make random dungeons with these. You know, they're specific only for this scenario.
Okay.
But that also means the artwork can be much more specific.
I see this. This is very detailed compared to what we had on the original Gloomhaven here.
Yeah.
Look at that. That is... are those bloodstains? Oh my gosh, that's graphic. I love it. And what we're looking at, it's not ridiculously detailed, like, oh my gosh, there's viscera. No, they kind of look like
just bloodstains. Red bloodstains on the floor.
Kind of like in the shape of, like, trees and everything.
Yeah, like at first glance it looks almost like weeds growing.
Almost. But that's pretty neat. This is really detailed. And the only bad thing about that is it's a shame that you can't do the whole pick and choose. So, yeah, this makes it a very specific map for a very specific scenario.
Reduces setup time, too.
Right, it reduces the setup time, but this is still pretty cool because you're still getting the same effect and the same type of immersion that you would get in the normal $100 version of this game.
Yeah.
And you said that you can get this at Target, right?
Yeah. And, pretty much any online retailer as well.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So if you don't want to fork out the $100, and I even know people who own both versions, but they won't play big box Gloomhaven anymore. They'll just keep pulling out Jaws of the Lion.
I can understand that. It seems to be a lot easier to set up, a lot easier to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look like you'll get the full Gloomhaven effect if you would go with the big box. I'm sorry, I still can't get over how massive that box is and how much stuff is in there. Holy friggin' crap.
It is gigantic.
It's huge.
Yeah, we tore through this review in just about a half hour now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, if you guys have any kind of imagination, this is the great game to use to play it with. Like I said, it's a bit of Dungeons & Dragons, but a lot of tabletop game as well, card game. There was a quick moment where we were playing tonight. PJ said, well, your character is huge. He's a barbarian. You can just go, you're a tank. You can go in and just knock people around. and that was my move. You get a move, you get 2 actions: move, and then whatever else, heal, hit, whatever. Or it doesn't even have to have a move, but you have these actions that you can do. And my 2 actions were I'm moving 4 spaces into this room, and I'm hitting this guy in front of me worth 3 damage, minimum 3 damage, and all I could think of was just this massive guy in a suit of armor just walking in and just backhanding this little whelp right in front of him, just get out of my way, poof, and he's across the room, and he died.
One hit kill.
That's all it took. I just flipped over my card, and it gave me as much as I needed to kill him.
Yeah.
A character I just met, and that's the image through my head. This big burly guy in a suit of armor just stomps on in, sees a guy, and just backhands him, and now he's gone. He's out of the picture.
That character also, when he levels up, somewhere around level 4, he gets a card that just says, kill 1 enemy. And then as he levels up even higher, somewhere around like 8 or 9, it's kill 1 elite enemy.
Oh my gosh.
And so he just walks up to a guy. You don't even have to like roll for it. It just happens. He just kills a guy.
That's ridiculous. But guys, I know this was a relatively short compared to what you're used to, if you're a regular listener. There's really not a whole lot more we can say about
for a
the
game this big, there's like, it's so simple, when you get down to it.
It is. Like I said, it's daunting to look at because of how big the box is, all of the pieces that are in there. That's tiles, cards, the book itself,
boxes, envelopes.
Yeah. But the great thing is when it comes to your rules are a very small portion, and the rest of the book, guys, is just the scenarios, the 95 different scenarios you can play in the game.
Not counting all the random dungeons you can make,
right,
too.
all the random dungeons you can make. And the cool thing that I liked about this is, for those of you who are fans of things like Skyrim and everything, you can go off and do a random side quests. Well, this one, we had a quick side quest at the very, very beginning, and that was a card that stated, before you go into this dungeon, the guards of this town ask you for help because they have very little experience and they don't have the time or the money to train these guys to be even decent. Will you help them, yes or no? And that's all it is. It's a yes or no decision. Will you be a nice person and help these guys, or will you say, too bad, go home, I don't care about you? Well, it was my decision, so I decided to be the nice guy, and I said, yeah, we'll help them. And suddenly it's, oh, great, well, you don't have to do anything. This is what happens. You spend the entire day helping these guys train and fight, and you've given them some of your knowledge. Now they respect you. And now when you come back to this town of Gloomhaven, you're going to get more respect, and people are going to know you for it.
Yeah, because your reputation goes up a point.
So your reputation goes up, and all you had to do was say yes or no. And everything else is detailed for you right on that card.
Yep.
So it's these cool little things that make this game so unique.
I'm glad you said that, because so with the reputation comes lower shop prices, because you can go shopping in the game.
Oh my gosh, shopping spree! Don't tell my ex-wife.
So
that was a horrible joke. I'm sorry.
So you get to go shopping and like get elixirs, like healing potions, stamina potions, armors, weapons, the general RPG kind of things, but prices can go down if your reputation goes up, or they can go up if your reputation drops enough.
Whoa, I wonder what Jack's reputation is.
And you can donate money to a church, and that will get you some new things if you donate enough money. If you, like we did a city event where we helped the guards.
Yeah.
Those happen every time you're in the city, which is in between scenarios, and you're back shopping and things like that.
Okay.
You can also sell items back to the shop for half their value. But then when you go out to a new scenario, a road scenario happens. Now, we didn't do one of those. We should have.
We didn't.
But it's the same exact thing as the city one, but usually they have much worse consequences.
Oh, gosh. I can only imagine.
Yeah, like you hear footsteps approaching. What do? Do you hide or do you say hello to them? Because if you say hello to them, they might attack you, you know? So there's all those things, too. And that's where, when you have a retired character, that might unlock a new card that you shuffle into those cards, and so your retired characters might come back in a city event card, or something like that.
See, that's so cool. There aren't a lot of games, whether they're board or they're video games, that do this kind of thing, and that really builds an entire world that you don't really see outside of the most perfectly simulated, things. Which is fantastic. Guys, this is going to be the best $100 you'll ever spend if you are a fan of this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. If you were lucky enough to back the sequel, that's going to have even more things to it, like building a city. It's going to have seasons, because you're in the north in a town called Frosthaven. And in the summertime, things are nice. But then when winter hits... You
better prepare.
Yeah, your town better have like walls to keep invaders out, and a good like storehouse with food in it and things like that. So I'm curious to see what they do with all that.
When you finally get this in, let me know. I'd love to play this.
Couple weeks. That's all it's going to be.
Let me know. I'm down to play it.
I can't wait.
This is going to be so cool.
We thought this box was big, and it's significantly bigger.
Now, if you did back the Frosthaven on Kickstarter, how much did you pay?
$99.
Okay, if you don't back on this, back
so for anyone who didn't back it, retail, you're looking at $250 for Frosthaven.
Holy crap. PJ, I think you and I will have to do a follow-up review on Frosthaven then.
Just to let people know if it's worth $250.
Well, from everything that you're saying and from what you've shown me, I'm really hoping it is.
Yeah.
Not just for your account's sake, but...
Okay, one thing I do want to ask about is people complain about Gloomhaven as feeling rather utilitarian in a lot of its pieces, which, A, helps keep the cost down, but B, for some people, it takes the value out of it. I didn't see any issues with it, but, using standees instead of minis, or the lack of artwork on the cards, or the generic coin tokens to represent loot, and things like that, and the maps having minimal artwork on them so they could be multi-purpose, and so the game just feeling, again, like I said, utilitarian in a way.
I didn't get that feeling at all, and a big part of that is because the things that are personalized for you, such as the minis that you get as your character, the amount of characters that you get, that you can unlock, all that kind of stuff, the way that the system is built with the branching paths, so, the city stories, side quests, the road quests that you can do. I think all of that brings it together where that doesn't seem like anything. I mean, that doesn't seem like something that you would want to gripe about. Yeah. I personally liked the minimalistic artwork on the cards because it was straight and to the point.
It doesn't take away
from
it. It doesn't distract you.
You and I have played a lot of these deck builders, such as my favorite, which is what you bought me for my birthday 2 years ago, Aliens. The Aliens Legendary Encounters game. In fact, I'm staring at my copy right now behind you. That game...
I didn't realize I brought it downstairs.
You did bring it down. That game, the artwork is my favorite thing on it.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing because you don't have minis. You don't have these side quests. It's very straightforward.
It's 100% cards.
100% cards and a beautiful mat that you place them on. That's all you get.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that artwork better be gorgeous. It better draw your eye to it. It better keep you captivated while you're playing the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even find myself just staring at the card and not even reading the text. I'm just going, that looks so cool. Oh, crap, that's a bad thing that happened. But the card looked so good. And for this, you don't need that because this one, it just says, hey, this is what happens. Here's your, A or B choice.
Yep.
Go.
Move this many spaces, do this.
Do this. And that's all you need. That's really all you need for a game. I keep saying this. This thing is huge. It's massive. You don't need anything else. For those of you that are saying it's very bland and everything, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Because you have so much more going for you in the game. And if you can't get over that little hurdle, then maybe the game's not for you.
Yep. I never really thought of it as being like utilitarian and everything until I got Scythe.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as I opened that box, first off, it smells good. The game just smells good. And then you feel the book, and the book feels good. And the minis and it all just feels good. And I'm like, this is luxury. And so then I realized, I'm holding Scythe, and I'm like, it's the first time I painted all my pieces, because I'm like, it deserves
that kind of quality.
I get it now, but at the same time, I still don't have a problem with Gloomhaven's design.
I don't see it either now. I've played Scythe with you. I think that game is ridiculously cool. I understand why you want to paint everything, and I love the paint job you did on those minis. I think they look great. I also love the fact that you 3D printed some of your own pieces to make them bigger.
Yeah, I made the center factory
That's
piece.
That's right, the
factory
there. Piece is so, and it looks great with the painting. Now, guys, he's not a professional painter, okay? Yep. PJ is not a professional painter, so it's not going to look amazing, but he's got color on it, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, just adding it.
Looks amazing.
Enhances it. Yeah,
it really does.
If you're afraid of painting minis, this is a side comment, but if you're afraid of painting minis, worst case scenario, you just paint it gray again if you screw up.
That's right, or white.
Or white, yep.
Do your base coat again and just
do it again. Any color makes such a difference. I really suggest trying it out at some point.
Definitely.
Again, if you love dungeon crawlers, if you like going in a room, killing everything, looting it, leveling up, repeating, then this is the game for you. If you want D&D in a box for one person or 4 people, even 5 if one person wants to control all the monsters.
Oh, that's something that I would definitely do in a game of 5 people.
You could change that around. Then this is the game for you. If you don't like the repetition of go in the room, kill things, and the strategy of it, this may not be the game for you. If you're not willing to invest in the setup for this game, this may not be the game for you. But again, the setup, proportionately from setup to gameplay, the time isn't that much because there's so much gameplay here.
It's really not. If you are interested, but you do feel like this is daunting, then I would highly recommend doing the Jaws of the Lion, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which we did talk about a little bit. It is less daunting, just from what I can see here. You're not getting as much quality as you would from big box Gloomhaven, but you're getting the fun, you're getting the scenarios,
you're getting the experience.
Yeah, you're really
just
getting
in
the experience.
25 scenarios instead of 90.
Okay. See, that's where your price goes. Your price goes 95 for 100, or 25
for 35 bucks.
Oh, okay.
But you still get the stickers, you get the unlockable characters, you get the cards, you get the difficulty. We haven't even talked about the difficulty of this game.
Gosh.
This is a hard game.
It is a hard game, but
it's not hard to learn.
Exactly. And I think those are some of the best games where it's easy to play, but it's hard to master.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not going to take the time to go through that, you just want a brainless board game, this is definitely not the one for you.
Right. This is a thinking game. This is your brain will feel like it ran a marathon when you're done with this game. But
I didn't feel like I ran a marathon, but a few points where I stopped there and I went, how should I do this?
Yeah, it's a brain burning game, and the more you play, the harder it gets as you get into those later levels and you start fighting some really messed up creatures like oozes, which split and then split, until you literally run out of standees to put on the board, and things like that. So it's it's a tough game, but yeah, it is a really fun game, and I definitely recommend it if you have a group that can continually meet, or if you just need something, to keep yourself occupied, or you and a couple, it works at any player level, really.
Right. This would have been a great game to have during the start of the pandemic.
The pandemic,
Stay home, you can't do anything. This would have been great to have, like, hey, pandemic party. Let's get four of our closest friends.
There were so many groups, so just like, we didn't take it off our table for 3 months, Oh my God. It just stayed on the table. And I understand, well, one, I mean, it reduces setup time, so that's...
Oh, yeah, it's already there.
But yeah, like, every night you just sit down and play through a scenario, and especially during the pandemic when no one was going anywhere.
No, yeah, you're not going anywhere, you're not...
It's one board game, but it lasts at least 95 playthroughs. And that's assuming you win every time you play.
Exactly. But this was pretty cool. I thank you for making me actually sit down and play this as a full, at least first part of the scenario. This is something that I will definitely be down to playing again.
All right, I'm always down for that too.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone for listening. Please remember to email us at gamesoboard@gmail.com. Also, listen to our other podcast, The Well House Exorcism, where we talk about our true haunting stories. Dan will be on at some point to tell our ghost stories.
Sometime.
And and we will also, now that we are done telling our stories, we are now investigating other tales from online, and we pass our judgment on whether or not we believe them. We just recorded the Crone of the Catskills, which was a Reddit thread from a couple years ago.
So basically what you're doing with this one is what I do every time I hear somebody tell us a spooky story.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
But yeah, that's for a Well House Exorcism episode. Feel free to listen to that. Email us. Check out our website, gamesoverboard.com, and email us from there as well. And Danger and Dice, also a live play D&D D&D podcast where we play D&D and get into all kinds of silly antics, like going to an obstacle course, people falling in the mud, and we just let them there to suffocate in the mud. That happened. It's in episode 1, and it's...
Did Jack have anything to do with that?
Kind of.
Of course.
So, they're going against some elves in this obstacle course, and the elves... It was a rope swing. And the elves missed the rope, fell into the mud, and no one decided to help them out. Yeah, that's just one ridiculously silly example of the things that happen in our D&D campaigns. Feel free to listen to that as well, and we look forward to talking with you next time.